Hello, hello everyone. Hello Kishan. Hello Sahil. Hi, hi Rashika. Rashika, okay. You don't call me ma'am. Okay, we'll start in a few seconds. Hello Prachi Didi. Okay, we'll be starting now. Okay, let's start. Okay. Good evening everyone. On behalf of the Indian Pharmaceutical Association Students Forum, Pune Branch, I warmly welcome you all to today's session, Various Domains of Clinical Research. Before we begin, I would like to introduce myself. I am Pooja Chaudhary, a second year BPharm student and a consociate of the Pharmacy Education Office at IPA-SF Pune Branch. And I'm thrilled to be your host for this session. Okay, we are delighted to have such an enthusiastic group of participants joining us this evening for learning the aspects and future in clinical research. Okay. Clinical research is a branch of medical research that involves people and aims to determine the effectiveness and safety of medications, devices, diagnostic products, and treatment regimes intended for improving human health. By this session, we will understand all the basic and fundamental concepts, aspects, and future opportunities in clinical research. As an evolving and graduating field, it's one of the most crucial part of formulation as well as understanding cell physiology to other foreign materials with modern techniques. Okay. Before we officially start today's event, I want you all to show some excitement by commenting how interested you all are for this session. Okay. Okay. Yes, Shivam. We are starting now. And I promise this is going to be a very good and informative session. Okay. Everyone are excited. Let's start. Without further ado, now I would like to invite our speaker for the day. We are thrilled to have Dr. Divya Hagawane amongst us today. Ma'am has completed her Doctorate of Pharmacy from Progressive Education Society's Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigadi, Pune. She is currently working as Student Product Central Coordinator at ICMR, National Institute of Translational Virology and AIDS Research, Bosri, Pune, and Project Technical Support at Dr. D.Y. Patil Medical College Hospital and Research Center, Pimpri, Pune. She completed an internship at ICMR National Institute of Translational Virology and AIDS Research Center, Pune, as a clinical trial intern, where she contributed to clinical trial coordination activities including site initiation, regulatory requirements, essential trial document preparation, site management, and the ethical conduct of clinical trials. Additionally, she completed an internship at Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital and Research Center, Pune, as a clinical pharmacologist intern. She actively participated in clinical ward rounds with physicians and clinical pharmacologists, analyzed more than 1,500 prescriptions, reported over 150 major medication errors, and implemented 120 clinical interventions while providing pharmaceutical care. Along with clinical experience, she possesses a comprehensive understanding of ICH good clinical practice, FDA regulation, and ethical consideration in research. Completed two observational research projects during her academic career, and published four original research articles in national and international journals. We are delighted to inform you all that Divya ma'am have been an alumni of IPA-SF Pune Branch. Her expertise in clinical field and research makes her the perfect mentor for our exceptional knowledge insights and for all the aspiring students who are eager to pursue a future in the clinical research field. So let's start the session with a quick overview of clinical research and its significance. Over to you, ma'am.
So, good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible. So, firstly, thank you so much, Pooja, for such a kind words for me. So, this is a very special moment for me as well because of being a delegate at Pharma Idealon in 2019, then serving as a public education officer for 3 years, and now being invited as a guest speaker for the IPSF event is a proud moment for me as well. So, with this good note, let's start our today's discussion. So, the topic which was given to me was domains of clinical research. So, can anyone please share the screen? The first slide, please. Next one. Next slide, please. The next one. Yes. So, clinical research. If you ask me, it is the most versatile and vast field you can get into. And if you have any type of skill or you have any type of interest, there is a place for you in clinical research. Trust me. So, by definition, it's a scientific process which involves studying of people, tissue sample, and data to learn more about health and diseases. So this study can be of anything. It can be of new drug, new vaccine, new surgery, new medical devices, biospecimen studies, or healthy volunteer studies or survey. As we all belong to a pharmacy background, we all been familiar with this name. But let us know deeply about these topics. Next slide, please. So clinical research has oftenly have a interchangeable name, that is clinical trial. But if you ask me, they are not completely similar things. It is clinical research is a part. Clinical trials is a part of clinical research. But in today's talk, we will focus on clinical trial. So clinical trial is a research study in which one or more human subject are assigned one or more intervention in the sense which I mentioned in the earlier slide. It can be a new drug, new vaccine, or anything. And to check the effect of that new intervention, the study is conducted. That is basically a clinical trial. Next slide, please. And this clinical trial can be of two types. It can be observational one or it can be interventional one. So by the name itself, observational studies are the studies in which we are not intended to test any particular drug. We are just observing effect of something. For example, you are studying effect of smoking. You are studying a group where you are determining the effect of smoking and who will develop a lung cancer. So this is in the observational study. You are not forcing them to smoke. It's there because you're observing only. So this is an observational study. And the second one is an interventional study. Interventional study, that means you're intended to you're you're telling them to use a particular drug or effect vaccine or anything, and the efficacy of that particular interventional product is checked in this study. So I hope it clears your basic definition or basic concept of clinical research.
Okay, so basically, in clinical research, we do profiling of drugs, like in interventional, and in observational, we just observe a particular effect. of our
Yes.
interest. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you, ma'am. Now that we know the overview of the topic, can you please explain the basic process of clinical research and clinical trials?
Yes. Next slide, please. So, before starting into the clinical trials, let us know how many molecules. You just basically imagine one paracetamol tablet, a 500 mg paracetamol tablet. You might see
Yes.
it as a two. The price is hardly 2 rupees or 5 rupees, but that what particular tablet has been uh, brought to you after so much of effort. I will explain you how. So,
Okay.
firstly, there will be a drug discovery.
Okay.
There can be 10,000 product which you extract from natural source or synthetic source. Out of that 10,000, hardly 200 300 product will be stable enough to use as a uh, it can be of human use, and that out of 2 to 300, only 5 6 will be of your use. The uh, you're planning to using them for particular treatment, they will have that particular effect. Only 5 or 6 will have it, and then you'll do the preclinical studies. For this, preclinical studies are basically the animal studies, animal testing we used to say it. So those study will be done for those 5 6 product, and out of those 5 6 compounds, there will be a one active pharmaceutical product which will be tested in the clinical trial. So
Okay.
whenever you take one tablet, please remember that tablet has gone through so much before reaching you. So
It's a
next slide,
long
please.
process.
Yes, it's a long process. It generally takes 15 to 20 years to put one particular drug to get into the market.
But we see so many drugs in the market, so like every drug has to go under through this processes of 15, 20 years
Yes,
of research.
yes. But only some
Okay.
exceptions are there. For example, the COVID vaccine. The situation was like that, so that the approvals are done quickly. There were emergency situations like COVID. So that's why the discoveries were fast forwarded, I can say.
Okay.
But an ideal process of any particular compound to get into the market, it takes 15 to 20 years from the
Okay. So like,
source to the end user.
so ethically it must take a long time
Yes,
to trial. Okay.
yes, yes. Next slide, please. So, um, so let's talk about the approval process. Whatever we test, whatever we research, it should be approved, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can't just found one product and give it to people and tell them use it. So,
Yeah.
so regulatory approvals are very much important in clinical research. So, as I
Okay.
mentioned, first step is drug development, then animal testing. These two phases I
Mm-hmm.
explained. Then there is IND application, investigational new drug application, which is filled by a sponsor, a investigator, or any research organization who are planning to conduct a clinical trial. Along with this IND application, there is a CTRI registration, that is Clinical Trial Registry of India. Whichever
Okay.
trials are happening in India, there should be a registration prior starting them. Without the registration, if you're planning to, or if you shouldn't, but if you're planning to do it without registration, it is unethical. So,
Okay.
uh, and if you want to know about whatever trials are happening around you, you can just go into the CTRI website and check what type of trials are happening around you, and you will be amazed
Okay.
to see the numbers.
Okay.
So, firstly, the IND application is done and CTRI registration is done. There is a catch. There are two types of trial: regulatory trials and academic trials. Firstly, regulatory trials are the one when we are using any particular drug for the first time. There is no prior approval for this drug. So in that case, you will require a regulatory or regulatory bodies DCGI, Director General Control, Government of India. So that body has to approve your trust study so that you can start. But in academic trial is a trial where you study a marketed product. You just for a new use, new schedule, or new dosing. For example, there is a vaccine which was approved for 3 or 4 doses. there is, ideally it is 3 to 4 doses, but now you are testing it for 1 dose schedule or 2 dose schedule. In that case, you will conduct a academic trial. In that case, you don't need a decision approval. You just need to notify them that you are planning to conduct this trial. In that case, approval is not necessary. So that is the basic difference between academic trial and regulatory trial. So
Okay.
whatever your trial is, regulatory or academic, the IND and CTR registration done, then you can go for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 studies. I will explain those phases in the next slide, but let us explain
Okay.
this process. Once those 3 phases are done, the you will file a NDA application. NDA is a new drug application. Firstly, what we filled, it was investigation new drug application. That means you are taking a permission to initiate a trial. But
Okay.
NDA application is an application. Now you are saying I have finished the trial and now I want to market the trial, that product. So you will file a
Okay.
NDA application. That if that NDA application, it only takes 90 days for the approval. If you didn't get in, and there is a very interesting concept of NDA application. If you didn't get any reply in 90 days, that means you are good to uh, go in the market. It's a very strange thing that you didn't get any reply. That means you are good to go.
Okay.
So So once that
Interesting.
90 days is over, now you can go for marketing. For before my marketing, you need a FDA approval also. For
Okay.
that FDA approval, the FDA application will be filled. That people will inspect your manufacturing practices, your labeling practices, and then they will give you a FDA approval certificate and a patent to manufacture that particular drug for 20 years. Any drug which is approved, it only has a patent of 20 years. After 20 years of marketing it, anyone else can manufacture that product and do their business. But before 20 years are complete, that is completely your own product. No one can make it.
Okay.
So
So it's a
after
very
that,
long process.
no, it's a good thing, na. If you are getting a 20 years it's kind of a royalty. You are the only one who's authorized to use for 20 years. You look, business तुम्हारा ही है 20 साल तक.
So it's like after this patenting, you can use the drug, like you have patent the drug totally to yours.
Yes, and
So
you
if
in the
somebody have to use the same drug, they'll have to take permission.
yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
And once the drug is
Very long.
marketed, then the post-marketed surveillance is started. Next slide, please.
Okay.
Next. Hmm. So I was talking about the phases. This is the
Yeah.
most loved question of pharmacy syllabus, I think. What are the phases of clinical trial? So there are basically 4 phases, but there are sub phases in it. So broadly, there are 4 phases. But before that first phase, there is a micro phase called as micro dosing phase, where you, after finishing the preclinical study, you give a 100th dose of the actual dose. For example, dose is 100 mg, but you will give only 1 mg dose to check the toxicity levels. Once the
Okay.
toxicity levels are satisfactory, then you will go for first phase. So first phase is a healthy volunteer phase. In this phase, you will test those product on healthy volunteers, and the numbers will be less than 100. And the main aim of that phase is to test the safety, to check the side effect, and to define a dose, right dose. What would should be a right dose? After
Mm-hmm.
that, the sample size will be increased, and the second phase is called as therapeutic phase, where you actually give that drug to the diseased patient or a patient with specific condition. For example, you have conducted a trial of anti-diabetic drug, you will give that drug to diabetic people and check the
Yeah.
effect. Now, if we are giving it to the people who have disease condition, so basically you will check the effect of drug. If it is intended to work on diabetes, is it working on diabetes or not? But still the number is less than 1000. Then in next phase, you will increase a number to up to 10,000. So now you are
Okay.
confirming it. So it is a therapeutic confirmatory phase. So now in this phase, you will define the dry dose of that drug. Then you will find out what are side effect of when you expose any particular drug to larger group, you will get variety of side effect, right?
Mm.
If you are testing it to smaller group, you will get very limited data. So we are basically increasing the number to just find out what are the possible side effect with it, and the safety will be established in this till the field. Now, in the earlier slide, I said after three phases, you will file a ND application. So this ND application is filled so that you have seen that three phases will establish a safety. That means this drug is safe to use. There is a fixed dose now. There is a fixed schedule. Until this three phases, you will end up with getting all this data. And after the ND application, you will release that drug into the market, and that it is called as post marketed surveillance. So in this post marketed surveillance, you will not actually conduct a study like all these phases. You will actually bring back people and ask them the effect or check them for effect. You will just do the surveillance of the study. You will tell them if they find any side effect, they should report us ideally. But you cannot मतलब उनको तुम कंपलसरी नहीं कर सकते, वो आपको रिपोर्ट कर भी सकते, नहीं भी कर सकते, पर once
Okay.
that product is in market, so it is exposed to each and every condition, so there is possibility of getting new side effect, long term effect, which are not seen in the earlier phases. That means this phase is also important. So these are the
Mm-hmm.
four phases in which the clinical trial is conducted. I know it's a bit complicated to see at first, but once you understand the significance of each phase, then it is pretty much simple thing that you will first introduce in healthy people, then disease patient, then increase the number and release into the market. It's the only four steps.
Okay. This is interesting actually.
It is very much
Okay, that
interesting.
that was a really detailed answer. Thank you so much for shedding light on the various processes. Now, since it's a very vast field, it's crucial for aspirants to know what all aspects come under this topic. What are the different domains in clinical research?
Yes. So this is the topic of today's topic only. What are the domains? So next, please.
Yes.
Uh, so in the first slide, I said you have any type of skill, there is a place for you in clinical research. I will prove it to you that why I was saying that. Next slide, please. So these are the broad 8 domains which are there in clinical research. But once you enter in the field, you might find new domains also, but these are the broad ones. So I will explain
Okay.
each domain and what it actually uh, involves. So first is clinical trial operations. The clinical trial operation are the people who actually conduct the trial. That means whatever phases we discussed in the earlier slide, that we bring people, healthy people, then diseased people, then we will administer the drug. This
Mm-hmm.
activity, this practical conduct of the trial will be done by these people. That is clinical trial operations. So these people are the ones, they can be scientists, they can be doctors, they can be nurses, pharmacists, field workers, all people who actually involved in this process of getting people into clinical trial, then giving them the drug, and then following them for the effect. All these processes comes under clinical trial operations. Second is clinical data management. At the name, as the name suggests, it's a data management system. So when we are conducting this trial, the data which is generated from this trial, for example, this drug is effective in this much percent of population, or it is not effective in this much percent of population. This is the data. So
Mm-hmm.
people who collect this data, store, analyze, and you can say handling of data, it done by these people who are clinical data, who are doing clinical data management. So these people
Okay.
will develop systems for data management, data collections, In the next slide, I will explain in detail what exactly how the data is managed. But basically, these people works around the electronic data. The third is regulatory department. So please do not get confused with this regulatory department with the regulatory affairs. They are uh, closely related fields, but what they do is completely different. So here I'm talking about regulatory department. Regulatory department is concerned with the clinical trials. Regulatory department is the department who will look after all the regulatory procedures, the applications, or the approval processes. All these application I mentioned in the process of FDA approval, these people will follow those processes and help the clinical trial operation team to run the trial smoothly, or there shouldn't be anything happening unethical or anything which is against the law. These people will prevent that. Basically they are the advocates, you can say, the legal people of our field, regulatory department. And then the fourth domain is pharmacovigilance. I think you must all have been familiar with this name, pharmacovigilance. So I will not get deep into it. It obviously it belongs. So it involves the ADR reporting, the documentation, and their generation of safety data. These people will work for data collection and providing a safety data to the regulatory bodies. And the fifth phase is biostatistics. I think if any fourth, fifth year students are here, it's their favorite subject, biostatistics, if I'm not wrong. So, biostatistics are the statisticians are the people who will involved at the start of the trial and the end of the trial. At the start of trial, these people will predict or determine the optimal sample size for the clinical trial. They will design a um, how the results will be analyzed, and the at the end of the trial, these are the people who will analyze the result and get you a sense whatever hypothesis you predicted. For example, you predicted at the start that this drug will work on type 2 diabetes people, so that hypothesis will be proven right or wrong is done by these people, biostatistician, because they are the one interpreting the result. Because the number of data or the amount of data is generated by clinical trial is massive. So you cannot do simple Excel thing, MS Excel then, or any, not, they are not simple calculation. They are statistical calculation. So these are experts in statistics. Then sixth domain is clinical trial supply chain. This is a new domain uh, discovered in this field, I think. So clinical trial supply chains. So I have been working in this field for a few months now. So in this field, I feel like conducting a trial is easy, but providing or maintaining the supply chain is a bit difficult. Not every trial unit have this person, clinical trial supply chain. So my trial unit didn't have this person, so I have to do his work. So whatever, so whatever material you required, you have to uh, find it. You have to check whether it is of good quality, the pricing, the follow-ups, the shipment, everything you have to look after. So these people
Okay.
are the ones who will provide any logistics, any infrastructure you require for the clinical trial. You, if you're planning to be part of clinical trial, you or a conduct of clinical trial, you require a defines there is a definition or any standards defined for everything, for infrastructure, for facilities to be given to the participant, what type of instrument should be used, they are up to what standards. So you need to get all those things done in that way which is mentioned in the guidelines. For that you need these people, clinical trial supply chain people. Then sixth is seventh one is clinical trial financing. So uh, financing, there is no business or no field in this world which run without finance. So these people
Definitely.
basically, so basically um, de- um These people will basically design your budget of the trial. If you are planning to procure anything, they will suggest you the fine, matlab, they will do the negotiation, they will check the quality and which is a billable cost and which is not billable cost, they will find out. So these people will look after the financial aspect of clinical trial. And the eighth one is clinical trial documentation. These are the people who are most crucial in the clinical trial, because if you are planning to come into clinical trial field, always remember that if it is not documented, it is not done. So
Okay.
whatever you do, it should be documented. If it is poorly documented, that means your, if even if you have done any amount of hard work, if it is not rightly documented, it is not valid data, or it is not ethical conduct of clinical trial. So these people will look after the documentation work of the clinical trial. So these were the domains of clinical research.
So these are the
I hope it.
basic eight domains of clinical research. Okay. Um, okay. Thank you for explaining all the domains very clearly. Now we have the good information and understanding about all the structure and domains. But let's talk about skills, like what skill one needs to prepare for a career in clinical research. What are the most important skills?
Yes. So let's go into each domain one by one. Next slide, please. So this slide may look crowded to you, but trust me, you cannot find this the simplest form of information in internet anywhere. So so I will explain the slide in very simple language, even though it is looking very crowded. It is actually not looking good to me as well, but it is very much important information written in this slide. So, firstly, clinical trial operations. So, I belong to this field. I work in this domain. So, as I mentioned, it is the uh, let us understand what the work profile will be if you are in clinical operation. Then we will discuss what you need to prepare. So, firstly, if you are in the clinical trial operation, you are the one who is responsible for designing, planning, or conducting the phase 1 to phase 4 clinical trial. You are the one who will strictly monitor or um, conduct the trial according to the rules and regulation, ICSGCB guidelines, or any regulatory national guidelines are there, or any institutional guidelines if are there. So you should be the one who will be following them. You are the one who will be involved in patient recruitment. That means in every phase you require different type of people. For you, first you need healthy people, then you need diseased people. So accordingly you should scrutinize people, then their recruitment, anything, any person, if you are planning to recruit in your trial, you should first do their screening. That means if they are um, eligible for your study or not. So it's a very big responsibility to get right person into the right trial also. If you are getting someone who is for example, if you are testing the effect of any anti-epileptic drug, hmm? So and you, if you are recruiting people from you know those people who perform tricks in circuses, who
Yeah,
drives the
yeah.
motorbike. Yes. So
Yes.
these people do stunts. And if you're
Yes.
taking people from anti-epileptics and if they take the drug and go for their daily job, is it right thing to do?
No,
So
absolutely
you
not.
should screening, the screening of patient and recruitment of patient is the uh, responsibility of these people. Then next thing, obviously, if you will collect the data, you will manage the data, and you will be a um, liaison between the drug development process expert and the community. You are the one who are connecting these points. Then this job generally involves traveling, because if you are working in a uh, CRO. So then there are might be more than one sites which are conducting that particular trial. So you should be flexible. You should be flexible for uh, traveling or staying at any other places. That should be convenient for you. So you should be ready for this. And lastly, this works is tend to be contractual, because whatever the duration of the study is, your recruitment as a staff will be of that period only. You can obviously go from one project to next, but for that particular period you can't work for lifelong for on one project. Obviously that project ends at some point of time. So these work profiles are generally contractual. So I hope the work profile is clear now, that what these people do.
We have a question that can
Yeah.
BPharm students be a part of clinical trials?
Yes, definitely they can be a part of clinical trials. And now I will tell you how can they be a part of clinical trials. So,
Okay.
firstly, with your degree, you should understand ICA-GCP. If you are planning to come into clinical research, consider ICA-GCP as Bhagavad Gita or Bible. Just by heart कर लो
Okay.
उसको, उसके सिवा कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता. Then along with these ICGCP guidelines, you should be aware of ethical guidelines, biosafety guidelines, and institutional guidelines. Whatever you the clinic, I'm talking about ethical conduct of clinical trial. These guidelines are set for the safety of the people who are participating in the trial and who are conducting in the trial. That's why the understanding of these guidelines is very much important. If you understand all these guidelines and you know how a clinical trial actually works, you can definitely be a part of clinical research regardless of your background, if you know this much on. Then
So if a
along with
BPharm
this,
student wants to join or be a part, he or she just needs to learn ICH GCP.
GCP, there are courses for ICS GCP. You can also do diploma courses in clinical research, which is very much popular course nowadays. It is PGDCR, um, diploma in clinical research. So you can do that after BPharm and you can definitely join the clinical research field.
Okay. I hope
Uh,
you have the answer, Nikhil Joshi. Okay, we can continue.
the- yes. Next, what skills you should have in this field, which are actually genuinely required in this field? You should have a good communication. Why? If you are recruiting patient, if your communication skill are not strong enough, so how will you convince them to come into your trial? That's why
Right.
communication is important. Attention to details. You should have leadership quality, because if you are a part of clinical trial, should be a sense of responsibility. You Because the success or failure of the trial depends on each and every person involving in the clinical trial. That's why you should have a leadership quality. Then relationship management, community engagement, critical thinking, time management is also important, because all the process involved in clinical trial has a deadlines, because there should be a recruitment period of 5 months. There will follow a period of 2 months. You should be the one who is following the guidelines. That's why you have to have time management. Then stress management and adaptability. As I said, this profile generally involves traveling. So if you are someone who loves traveling, going to new places, meeting new people, so this is a field for you, I think. Next slide, please. Now that we know what is these people do and how you will be preparing for that, what will be your career graph? What you will end up becoming? So as a fresher, you can enter as a clinical trial associate or clinical research coordinator. So, clinical trial associate looks after administrative work, and clinical research coordinator looks after administrative work along with the clinical work, that is recruitment, data collection, and everything. So, then the hierarchy goes on, like senior clinical research associate, clinical trial manager, then up to clinical, and then project manager, then clinical operation manager, and lastly, you can be a director of clinical research. So, this will be your career graph if you follow this field. Next, please. So, clinical data management. So as I said, clinical data management are the people who will be electronically handling the data. They will develop SOPs for data collection and maintaining quality and integrity of the data. They will design electronic data capture system. This is a concept which belong to clinical research, that is electronic data capture system. The data in clinical research collected in two ways, in the paper CRF and electronic CRFs. Paper CRFs are generally designed by the clinical operations people, and the electronic one is designed by the clinical data management. We require both forms of data, paper data, the written data, and the electronic data. Then you will be the one who will ensure the integrity of the data, and the data is complying with the regulatory guidelines. So in the all the field I will be explaining will involve regulatory guidelines. You whatever you do should be in the compliance of regulatory guidelines. Next thing they will do, they will address if there are any data related issue, and you will try to resolve them immediately. Then you will prepare a clinical study reports, and these work profiles are generally flexible and one of the highest paying profiles in clinical research, because these works are generally a corporate वाला job बोल सकते हो आप इसको, because these
Okay.
people have targets of, if you have to complete the data of 100 people, and if you complete the data before deadlines, you are free to do what you want in the meantime, because your work is yeah, if you prioritize your work, you will have obviously have much some time left for yourself. So this, if you are someone who likes to wrap up your work early and have some or personal time, so it's a feel for you. I'm telling you the tricks, the key points which I don't think any speaker will tell you, because I'm not someone who has 10 years or 20 years of experience. I am just like you. I just uh,
Okay.
became a corporate person from a student life. So I can definitely tell you what a student want from a job. So what a clinical data management requires. You should obviously have a good understanding of clinical trial process. If you're involved in the any particular type of clinical trial, you should understand the methodology, how this trial is designed, and accordingly you will design the system, data collections, data electronic data capture system. Then you should have proficiency of developing those data management system. They generally have softwares like SAS, SQL, or Oracle based systems. You must have heard these names. So you can get the courses done for these softwares, and you can be a clinical data manager. And in this, you will also have skills like um, excellent attention to detail, problem solving skills, and you should have a strong organizational skills also, and time management.
So
This
is
might
it
be.
is it
Yes, yes.
necessary to be good in technical knowledge for this field?
Yes, it is mandatory to be good in this IT skills or technical skills.
Okay.
Next slide, please.
And we have a question. Can a
Yes.
MPharm graduate join any domain without doing diploma courses in clinical research?
See, if you are appearing for the interview and you can answer each and every question of the interviewer, you can definitely join. But every job profile comes with the eligibility that says you studied the clinical research. So if you cannot check that box, how will you appear for the interview? At least
Right.
you should have any proof that you have learned that. You can do a professional diploma course, or you can do any online courses, but you should have a certificate or any proof that you have learned this.
Okay.
But
So
if you're
like every
fortunate enough,
company,
yes, yes.
has this question. Have you
Ha,
learned?
not this typical question, but they want someone who have learned this
Ex- Okay, huh.
from any course or any mean, by any mean, but they need someone who have learned all these guidelines. You can just say that I know these things, but how will you prove that you know these things?
Right.
Because
So they,
coming you can answer any question. I am not doubting anyone's capability. Anyone can learn anything at any time, but you should get a chance to get into that interviewer seat, interview room, at least na, to answer that question. To get into that room you need to have the courses done or any online courses done.
okay. Hope your doubt is cleared. And one more question is, can we switch from one domain to another during a single drug research?
Single drug research is but difficult. It can it can be done or it cannot be done, depends on the trial type of trial you are involved in. If you are responsible for the thing which is done, for example you are in clinical trial operation and the patient recruitment is done, whatever sample size which was given to you is done now, that means your work is done. Now you want to be into clinical data management team because their work starts after the recruitment phase ends. Then in that case you can change. But if you have any responsibility on your shoulder that is not completely done yet, you, in that case you cannot change. But you can definitely switch from one domain to another at any point of your career.
Okay. Okay. I hope
So
all these doubts are clear. We can continue. Yes.
So, the career ladder, you firstly become a clinical data coordinator, then you can become a clinical data analyst. The higher will be clinical data manager, senior clinical data manager, clinical management lead, and finally a director of data management. Why I kept this slide, I tell you. There, when you see opportunities to go higher and higher, you tend to like that field or you tend to have interest in that. That's why I kept this slide. You can just Google it and find this posts. But I think when you know na ki there is a growth chance to grow, you, it's a human tendency,
Have
you go there.
you
That's
grow
why I
interest
kept,
in that.
yes. So next slide, please. So next, the domain is clinical pharmacovigilance. So pharmacovigilance is in the boom right now. Everyone knows about this field. It's the field which revolves around ADR monitoring and reporting. So in the people who belong to this field, they work for collecting, reviewing, and analyzing the safety data. Whichever database is generated from post-marketed surveillance that this particular drug has this side effect, this adverse event, this serious adverse event, you are the one who will be reporting it. You will be generating a case report and you will submitting to the authorities. Then you will uh, collaborate with the teams to ensure the safety regulation are followed. Then you will be the one who will submitting the report. So in this field you should be someone who has good writing skills, because in this field very much this field is very much about writing a report or preparing a report, because you can just simply say this drug xyz causes nausea, but how is it causes, in what dose, at what time, in what age group, that report writing is very much important. If any pharmacy student is there in the audience, they might know the SOAP note we mm, write, subjective objective assessment and plan note. These are the detailed study reports which we write. So in this field these people do this. And if you are someone who are planning to work in a domain where you don't want to travel, you want a job where you can work, there is a job stability in this field. You don't have to travel or go at certain places for time to time, or this generally majority of people also get work from home in this field. So if you are someone who's interested in that part of the job, then you can go for pharmacovigilance. So in this field, you will obviously need ICSGCP understanding and understanding of pharmaceutical terminology and medical terminology. So someone said that any B.Pharm student can join the this field. So um pharmacovigilance is all about medicine, their side effects. if you are someone who doesn't understand the pharmaceutical terms and terminologies, then you cannot write a report, because there will be as a person with a pharmaceutical background will understand the things more clearly than someone who is not. That's why someone with pharmacy background will be a good fit for this field. In this field, you will require skills like well organized, observational skills, analytical skills. You should have good communicational skills, written skills, and verbal skill as well. Then you should have good IT skills and team working skills. This is also one of the corporate jobs. So you should have team. You should be a team player, and you should have ability to work in fast paced environment, because people are nowadays people are nowadays very much aware of side effects, adverse effects. That means the world is updating themselves, so you should be the one who will be updating yourself as well. So in this field you will require this much information. Next slide please. The career ladder: firstly you will become a drug safety associate, then pharmacovigilance officer, a senior drug safety associate, a pharmacovigilance scientist, safety data analyst, and finally a director of pharmacovigilance. This field also has good pay, and as I said, it generally have a flexibility. This job gives you flexibility to even work from home, so it's a good choice to choose. A good option to choose. Next slide, please. The next is regulatory department. So as I said, it is a regulatory department which involves a clinical trial. So that means these are the people who will ensure the regulatory guidelines are followed and implemented. They will train the staff to how to follow these guidelines, how to submit the regulatory document on time. They will be the one who will be a liaison between the sponsor, the CROs, and the investigators, and they will assist you during the process of IND application, ND application, and they will also the one who will be coordinate the auditing visits of the trial. There are auditors in the clinical trials who will inspect your site any time point of time. So they are the one who will be scheduling those visits for you. So
Okay.
this is also one of the higher paying field of clinical research. So if you are someone who is interested towards rules and regulations and guidelines, so this can be a good fit for you. So in this domain, you will require knowledge of federal laws, state laws, institutional guidelines. You all have remember you must have, या फिर किसी ना किसी फ्रेंड सर्कल में होगा ही कोई तो एक दोस्त होता है जिसे सारे रूल्स पता होते हैं, जिसको सारे आईपीसी की धारा याद होती है. So if you are someone like that, so this is a field for you. So next
Okay.
quality will required is willing to work in a flexible hours, prioritizing tasks, well organized. You should have observational skills, problem solving skills, excellent communication skills, and IT skills and team working skills. So these are the mandatory skills you require for the field. Next slide, please. So the career ladder goes like regulatory coordinator, senior regulatory coordinator, regulatory associate, and finally the director of regulatory department. I hope this domain is clear. Next slide, please. So biostatistics. As I said, if you're someone who likes calculation, mathematics, statistics, this is a field for you. And I surely say that I'm not made for this field. So, if you're someone who can perform or who is willing to learn about statistical methods, this is a field for you, because there are statistical software, that is R, SAS, SPSS, and Stata. If you are well known with this name, these are softwares which are used to analyze data which is generated during the clinical trial. So these people will uh, firstly predict the optimal sample size. They will design a randomization methods. They will have advanced statistical method to interpret that result. They will ensure that the data is accurately corrected. They will standardize the data processes, coding processes, and they will perform complex statistical analysis. And they will also identify the data related issues and try to resolve them. And these biostatistician and the data clinical data management teams, these two people generally coordinate works with each other,
Coordinate.
because they do similar kind of work, so that's why they are the one who will be working around the data. So if you are planning to work in this field, you should obviously have these proficiency in this statistical software. There are courses for this also, SAS and startup courses. If you search on internet, you will find it. Then you should also understand the research design and methodology, and then only you can design a randomization method or sample size. If you didn't understand the actual process of the trial, you will not able to design the interpretation of the data. So you will understand the firstly you should understand the research design. Then in this field you will require observational skills, analytical and problem solving skills. And in this field also requires good communication skills, because you should be the one who will explaining the uh, how the data will be interpreted, and accordingly the who will be collecting the data should collect the data. So you should have a good communication skill, and you also need good working team working skill.
Teamwork.
Next slide, please. So career ladder is just only for this domain. This career ladder it is not actually a ladder. You can place into the project according to the type of project it is. You can be an entry level biostatistician, you can be a mid level, you can be a principal biostatistician, or you can be a research biostatistician. So the post is generally dependent upon the type of project you are in. It is not a hierarchy actually.
Okay,
Next.
definitely clear.
So, clinical trial supply chain. As I earlier said, conducting a trial is easy, but managing logistic is very difficult. So, if you are someone is who's good at market analysis, who is good at procurement, who is good at um, managing inventory, supplying any uh, particular material, then this is a field for you, because clinical trial require मतलब massive amount of logistics, apparatus or any instruments, everything.
Mhm.
So you will be the one who will be supplying them. So these people will firstly develop a supply plan according to the requirement of the study, according to the study or clinical trial. They will involve in the logistic process, and they will comply to the regulatory guidelines. They will coordinate with various departments ki what type of needs each department have, and what deadlines they have for those needs, so that which that can be fulfilled by the clinical trial supply chain person. So they should also establish and maintain good relationship with external vendors, because the vendors who will supply you any material will be the one you will always have a good rapport with, because you if you are in this field you will be continuing ordering those things again and again from the same vendor, so you should maintain a good rapport with those people. And lastly,
Mhm.
reporting. If there is uh, any incident happened with the supplies, then you should be the one reporting it. So what is required in this field is like good clinical practices. There are good distribution practices, so you should learn those practices. You should understand the research design. You should have observational skill. You should have cost management, because why I tell you cost management. uh, you might think spending some spend you have a very big budget for clinical trial, but you can't just spend whole budget on one single thing. You should aware of what the thing is of what worth. These are the people who will tell you how to do cost management. Next is analytical and problem solving skills, excellent communication skills, relationship management, and team working skills. Next slide, please. This domain has only three positions like clinical supply chain coordinator, clinical supply chain manager, and clinical supply chain associate. But I think this field is can be a foundation to become a business owner, to become an entrepreneur if you are planning to, because you will be the one who will be doing the market research. If you are good at that, it can be a good foundation for your future. So if you are someone who is planning to start their something of their own in the future, this can be a good experience for you guys.
So the
Next,
ones
please.
who want a career in business and finance, they can go opt this field.
Yes.
Okay.
Next slide, please. Clinical trial financing. So as I said, these people will involved in financial management of the clinical trial. Whatever budget has been given to you by the sponsor, you should utilize it optimally. Because if you are not utilizing it optimally, you are wasting your money on the things which are not that much of worth. That means at the end you will be short. Obviously, you will
Mhm.
end up at a place where you will
Short
not
of
have money
money.
for conducting. Yes. So these people will design a budget for you, they do the negotiation for you, they will distinguish between the billable cost and non-billable cost, they will ensure the overall process is according to the federal regulations, they will maintain the appropriate databases regarding the financial aspect of the clinical trial, they will report the financial reports, and they will actively train the clinical trial operation team for finance management. So what
Okay.
is required in this? They should be well aware and understand the clinical research design. They should be understanding financial terminologies. Uh, they should have observational skills. They should also have cost management skills, analytical skills, communication skills, relationship management, team working skill, and finally leadership. Next slide, please. So you can be either a clinical research financial analyst and clinical trial financial officer. Although they have only two profiles in this field, but these both of them has good pay for freshers also. So this is also a good option to go for. Next,
Okay.
and the last, the most foremost important thing, that is
Important.
documentation. So, clinical trial documentation. These are the people who will collect, document, and handle the data and submit it to the regulatory bodies. Because until the जब तक आप data submit नहीं करोगे for the approval, that means you have done nothing. Like I said, there is a quote: if it is not documented, it is not done. So these people will ensure the timely completion of essential document. They will collaborate with all the stakeholders to further uh, compliance to regulatory requirements and guidelines. They will also do auditing of the data. They will perform quality checks and keep all the documents organized. So if you are someone who is very much organized, who like to keep things at right time, right place, you are someone who follows deadlines very accurately, so this is a field for you. In this field you require a strong understanding of ICS GCP, you should understand research design, you should have observational skill, you should be the one who's prior, you should understand the prior, how to prioritize a work, you should have good time management, analytical skills, excellent communication skill, relationship management, team working skills, and leadership. Next slide, please. So career ladder goes like, firstly you can, in this case also there is no hierarchy, you can be of any you can choose any profile. Firstly it is trial master file specialist, you must have heard this name many a times. because right now, all over my LinkedIn, only this post is reflected. Trial master file specialist, trial master file specialist, and this is one of the good paying profile as well. So it is a good option to go for. Then there is time master lead, a time master file lead or manager. There's a document control specialist, quality assurance specialist or auditor, a regulatory compliance specialist. So these last two are only the supervisor who will just ensure the data integrity, and they are actually a very higher post, uh, if you see, if you compare all the domains. So they also have very good pay.
So they'll basically check all the documentation is proper or not.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So domains are finished.
Okay. So that was like really deep information. And I hope
Yes.
everyone are clear with all the domains. Okay. Now, since we have cleared all the domains, a very big question propagates all the way that how should one, he or she decide what domain should one choose?
So firstly,
Which
I
domain?
think, hmm, I think which domain will be best for you. The question of answer of this question, बस आप खुद दे सकते हो उसका आंसर. I can only suggest you to weigh how to at least narrow down your choices. So I came up with this idea. If it is possible, please everyone take out pen and paper. There is one exercise I would like to do. If you're doing it, do it, or listen it completely and do it after the session. So next slide, please. Next, list. So I prepared a set of questionnaire. There are 12 questions, and you have to give your answer as yes or no. So you can make. There are 9 domains, so one for the question and 9 columns ahead. So 10 columns, and there are 12 questions, so 13 rows. If you can make it or do it later. So after that, what you will do, you will read the answer question and give the, if your answer is yes, you will tick into the column which is mentioned in the domains to go for. So I will
Okay.
read one question and you will do with me or just understand. So first question is, do you prefer desktop job? If you are someone who is willing to do a desktop job, who is good, who's interested in corporate work, then you can tick into the column of pharmacovigilance, regulatory, clinical trial documentation, and clinical data management. This is a field which generally tends to have a desktop job. Second question is, does a job involving travel interest you more? If you're someone who doesn't like sitting around, they like to travel, meet people, then you should tick into the boxes of clinical trial operations, clinical trial supply chain, and clinical trial financing. Next question is, do you prefer majorly independent work? I know there is no work in this world you can do independently. Obviously, you need someone to help and to coordinate. But if you are someone who doesn't like to rely on anyone else, you like to do what is your work and finish it on time. So you can choose the career like biostatistics and clinical research, clinical trial supply chain. The next question is, are you a team player? That means if you're someone who believes in team strategy, you believe that coordinating with everyone will lead you. So that means you are a good team player. So you can take into the boxes of clinical trial operation, clinical data management, and regulatory. The next question is, does documentation work interest you more? If you are very organized, you like documenting things, you're good at documenting, then you can be a good fit for clinical trial documentation, pharmacovigilance, and regulatory. So please tick in these three boxes. The sixth question is, are you inclined towards financial aspects more? If you are good with financial decision making, financial terminologies, then clinical tick into the box of clinical trial financing and clinical trial supply chain, because these two fields involves financing. Next slide, please. Please take into the boxes when your answer is yes. Seventh question is, are you planning to work? involving implementation of guidelines and regulation. As I said, if you are someone who likes or who understands laws, regulation, then you can be a good fit for regulatory and clinical trial operation. You can put check ticks in these two boxes. Next question is market analysis and inventory management is your forte. If you're someone who's good with cost management, who knows market, how pricing is done, how the market values raise are or ups and downs are going on in the market, then clinical trial supply chain will be a good fit for you. And as I said, if you are planning to become a businessman, this is also one of the good field for you, so you can just tick into that field, that box. The next question is, are you someone with good IT skills, or working on electronic data is your thing? If you're someone who is good with IT skills, then you can take into the clinical data management, clinical trial documentation, and clinical trial operations. If I'm giving three options, that means there is a preference. The first preference is data, second is documentation, third is operations. Uh,
Operations.
then the 10th question is, does result analysis statistical functions interest you more? If you are a person with good calculation, mathematics, and statistics, you can go for biostatistics and clinical data management. Uh, and the next question is, are your documentation skills and report writing skills are your USP? If you're really good with documentation writing and report writing, then pharmacovigilance, clinical trial documentation, and regulatory are the three fields for you. And the last question is, does patient interaction and subject handling interest you more? If you are someone who is willing to work around patient, who likes to there's a term called pharmaceutical care. If you are someone who like to do work in that field, uh, do community engagement, if your communication is good, you can develop a rapport with people at very fast. So you can be good fit for clinical trial operation and pharmacovigilance. And so put two ticks in that boxes. Once you have put all the ticks, just calculate the number, which field is better for you, and you will end up at and find out what are top three for you. So as I firstly said, I cannot tell you what is the best field for you. So this exercise is only for narrowing down your choices, because I know being a student, it feels really confusing and stuck that which field
Yeah.
I should get into, and if I get into this field and doesn't like it that field, what should I do? But I must tell you, these choices can be for as a fresher job. Once you enter into the field, your perspective towards field can change. Your expectation from the field can change. Obviously, you can change your field, as I said, but as a fresher, you should follow your interest. A- ऐसा मेरा मानना है. If you have any other expectation from job, you can definitely follow that. It is not wrong. I'm just suggesting you to follow your interest so that you could at least uh, be satisfied with your job workflow.
Yeah.
For a person like matlab, if I talk about myself, satisfaction of work is very much important for me. But for some people, a good pay can be a first preference. So that is also a good
Mhm.
thing. This exercise for what interests you more. So I hope this exercise you will uh, do it after the session. Or if you are done, it's very good. And
No,
if
honestly, that this
so
exercise
if
is
you
really good.
so if you can do it, please let me know if it is useful or not.
It definitely seems useful, honestly. Like we'll get a clear idea about our interest.
So this is how you can choose your domain according to me.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now we'd love to hear about your personal experience with this field. Like, what were the challenges you faced? How did you overcome them? And what advice would you give to the aspiring students?
Okay. So as I said, I'm not someone with great long 10, 20 years experience. I'm just a normal student who has just started her career. But fortunately, I started with a good organization, so I got really good experience from them. Next slide,
Mm-hmm.
please. So I will only give you four advices or four things which I have learned, and I think it will be helpful for you. Please change the slide. Firstly, it is goals. You should always set your goals firmly. That you want to go into the clinical trials operation, so you should be well prepared for this field, and you should set your goals very high. That I want to be a clinical trial operation director. That should be your aim. That is my ideology. If you aim high, you end up at some level at least. But
Mm-hmm.
always have plan B, because I tell you, in my internship I had to wait for 11 months to get my internship at ICMR.
Oh my God.
So that there should be a plan B, but always firstly have a firm goals, and if it doesn't work out, you should immediately take a call that this is not gonna work, I have to change. So you should always have a plan B. The second
Mm-hmm.
thing I will tell you is the approach. Approach in the sense, there is no field in this world which is hustle free. That is, you will go into for the interview, you join, you just start earning money and life is good. It is not like that. That you sometimes you really did your best at interview, but you didn't get that job. It might happen. So please
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like everything बस खत्म ही हो गया है सब कुछ. दुनिया में बहुत सारी कंपनीज है और बहुत सारे जॉब्स है. So please that be ready for ups and downs. The third point I would like to give you is do background checks. That means if you are planning to start anything, you're planning to switch, you're planning to start your own business, please do background checks, because uh, some field might look very glorious or very good from outside, but once you entered or once you commit for something, you cannot just uh, तुम ना नहीं कर सकते उस चीज को, जस्ट छोड़ दे ही
Mm-hmm.
सकते हो उसको. इसलिए किसी मतलब if you are planning to join any organization, please do background checks. What is the scope that organization has, and then you should start. And then last is keep learning, because uh, a few days ago I posted on LinkedIn what I learned, that there was a point one day you will feel that you learn everything about clinical research. I talked for 1.5 hour, like, so I know everything about research, and next day I will go and have such a problem that I don't even know how this happened. So I don't have any idea about anything. So you should be keep learning, because there is nothing like that आज मैंने पूरा clinical research सीख
Mm-hmm.
लिया है, आज इससे ज्यादा किसी को आ ही नहीं रहा होगा ऐसा. Every time there will be someone who knows 1% better than you, but if you keep learning, you will obviously grow, and you will obviously reach that stage also. So the last keep learning is a success don't have elevators, you have to climb the stairs, so that those stairs are learning stairs. So
Yes.
next slide please. So these are the four mantras or advice or uh, and anything you can say, key points from my side to you. And this was a good memories of my clinical research journey until now at ICMR and DY Patil. So at the end, I would really like to thank this organization and these teams for a good experience and making me the person who I am right now. And the last slide, please. The next one. This I would like to end my presentation with this quote. This is my wallpaper of my mobile also. I feel very inspiring while reading it. So it goes like, be patient, for what was written for you was written by the greatest of all writers. So please be patient, because good things always, good people end up at good things. ऐसा मेरा तो मानना है. So that's the. Please take
Definitely.
earlier slide. Uh, the second last slide I want to talk about it. So I know in 1/2 an hour, 1.5 hour, I can't answer your all your questions. You can just reach me, uh, reach out to me at my social media platforms. You can just take a screenshot, and we can have a discussion if you want. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'm ready for your questions and comments.
Okay, that was really insightful. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your experience and advices. I'm deeply grateful to you, ma'am, for curating this comprehensive overview of clinical research. Your expertise and passion for the subject has been inspiring, and I appreciate the opportunity to learn from you. Your journey is truly commendable and will undoubtedly motivate our participants to stay focused and determined in the future in clinical research. Okay. Before we start the Q&A session, I would like you all to comment on how informative the session was till now, and does it makes you grow interest in this field? Write about it in the comment section. Was it interesting? Definitely very informative session. Yes, Shivam. Okay. I think we'll start with the Q&A. It's time for the most awaited part of today's session, Q&A. I'm sure many of you have been eagerly waiting to get your questions answered, whether it's about your opinions and unclear doubts and or anything we discussed today. Now is the time to ask. Don't hold back. Our expert speaker is here to provide clarity and guidance. So drop your questions in the comment section. We have few question of like earlier ones. This is the question by Rashika, that is, what is the difference between regulatory department and clinical trial documentation?
Okay. So, regulatory department involves all the regulatory documents which are need to be submitted to the regulatory authorities. Regulatory authority is national authorities, regulatory bodies like DCGI, or CTRI, or Sugam portal, which is a ADR reporting site. The documents which are submitted to these regulatory bodies, or there is a document which are submitted to ethics committee, institutional ethics committee. These documents are maintained, prepared, and monitored by the regulatory people. But the clinical trial documentation people, they work with the documents which of data collection, which involves the um, patient data, which is going to be the result of our study. That is, this person had this percent of effectiveness or didn't had effectiveness. So the actual data which is generated from the clinical trial, those data will be handled by clinical trial documentation people, and regulatory people will only handle the data which is required for the regulatory authorities. So that's the basic difference. So I
Okay,
hope it is clear.
I think it's very clear. And another question is by Suhani, that which skills come under the IT skills, like knowledge or any special one? Sorry, language
IT
or any special language or specific something.
IT skills can start from right from MS Office, Excel, Advanced Excel, then even editing skills, even matlab, you you can't just define that this doesn't come under IT. Anything related to computer comes under IT skills.
Hmm.
So basically, you should be good with technicality of IT field. Technicality. I'm not talking about a specific language, Java, C plus anything. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about technically sound person who is who can just do the technical functions of data. That is IT skills, not any particular language.
Okay. And what before starting the clinical research work? internship is required?
It is, I will not say it is necessary, but it will definitely help you to determine, like I said, whether this field is meant for you or not. Until I was entered into this field, I had a very different picture in my head about clinical research, but fortunately I found a better picture than what I imagined. So if you're doing internship for any particular organization, that means you develop or you will be ready for what to expect from the field. So it will be helpful. I will not say it is necessary. It will be helpful.
Okay, I hope these doubts are cleared. Do we have further any questions? You can clear it right now only. There is one question: how to start a research work in academic year only?
You're talking about research of what type? Observational trial or clinic? What type of research work?
Like, I think
Uh,
he means to enter into the field of
as a
clinical
in
research.
academic, you obviously cannot start trial, but you can start doing observational studies. Like in your final years, you have a projects, observational projects you can do, and if you
Mhm.
can get a chance to do an international project, that's a good thing also. So I think for BPharm and family both have that project in the syllabus only. But along with that, you can do your own projects as well. For example, I did my whatever publication which I have done, those are observational research projects which are done in the academic years, but I did it with guidance of my faculty. You can't just think of an idea and you start collecting the data and now you can say it is right or it is wrong. You can have someone to just be double sure that whatever you're publishing, it is the right content, because every research will be finally will get published. So when get published, you will not end up at a place where you cannot explain or you cannot justify what you have done. So you can definitely do
Mhm.
observational studies for academics. Just
Okay.
do it with a good guidance.
Yes. I think now all the questions are done. Okay, now, okay, we have a question. Are there some courses to do in the academic year?
Yes, you
Courses.
can definitely do ICS GCP course, which is available at NIDA, NIDA website. Then you can
Okay.
do a ethics in human research course. You can just find the website. Didn't remember the website. The name is ethics in human research.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can do medical writing courses for pharmacovigilance. Then you can do the software languages which I told you. Um yes, Stata and everything, or
Mm-hmm.
SAP language. Those courses you can do for clinical research, clinical data management.
Okay.
Now I can think of only these. If you want a detailed answer, I will search for you guys. If you want, just reach me out at my mail ID. I will reply you in detail.
Okay. Okay. I think that's it. That's few questions we have. Okay. Now I would like to invite Ms. Shreyasi Banerjee, Pharmacy Education Office Head at IPA-SF Pune Branch, to give the vote of thanks.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much, Pooja. So, on the behalf of Indian Pharmaceutical Association Students Forum Pune Branch, I, Shaisi Banerjee, Education Office Head, would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Divya Hagawane. I thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful and enlightening session. Your expertise in this topic would be very beneficial for our viewers today and will surely help many students in choosing their future career paths. I would also like to thank my team from IPSF Pune branch for their unwavering support throughout this event. Additionally, I would like to express my gratitude to all the attendees for their time and energy, which contributed to making this session a success. And thank you, everyone. Have a great day ahead, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Shreyasi ma'am. We hope that a lot of students have got many useful insights from this session. And once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for delivering such an insightful and inspiring session. We feel privileged to have all this discussion with you, and we look forward to work with you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and all the best to the team. I feel so nostalgic right now that why I'm not in the arrangements. I'm missing that phase. So all the best everyone and thank you. I'm really feel blessed or feel very proud to be a guest speaker at this platform. And yes, we will. I definitely like to work with you again.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Yes, yes. Definitely, Nikhil is saying once an IPSF member.